Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 36 of CCA's Medical Minute, sponsored by Kroger Health. We are very happy to be here today with our colleague, Dr. Abdul Jazieh, who is our Director of Innovation and Research, among other things. But in this capacity here today, he'll talk to us in that capacity today. He's also the principal investigator. Cincinnati Cancer Advisors is now a clinical trial site, and so he is managing a clinical trial we have here that is, and remind me again, I think it's a colon cancer relapse.
It's for immune therapy actually in different diseases, lung, colon, and melanoma. Actually.
Okay, gotcha. That's really cool. It's a new development and something new we're doing here. Hopefully the first of many. I'm also here today with my colleague Sherry Hughes, who that would be the same Sherry Hughes that is being inducted into the Greater Cincinnati Journalism Hall of Fame tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you're picking on me, right?
I'm just trying to embarrass you a little bit.
I'm excited about it. I even have family flying in town for it, so they're making it a big deal. But
that's cool.
I'm humbled by it. I'm happy.
Well, congrats, and we believe it's well earned.
Thank you.
Anyway, so that'll be fantastic. Why don't you go ahead and Sherry? Why don't you go ahead and kick us off today, because we got some big news to talk about. It came out a couple weeks ago, but we want to kind of shine our own light on this.
Okay, certainly. And Dr. Jazieh, we've kind of tweaked our programming just a bit today because we want to talk about a major story that broke a few weeks ago about a clinical trial that was done at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. Now, I know that you know what I'm talking about with this clinical trial, but I'd like for you to tell our audience, give us a bit of an overview of that study. It's groundbreaking. And let us, give it to us in a way that even a layperson can understand, because there's a lot of, as Steve would say, doctor language involved in it.
Doctor speak.
Okay. Thank you, Steve, for having me, and thank you, Sherry, for asking the important question about the clinical trial that was presented in ASCO. Actually, this was a groundbreaking trial that they made a special session for it. So the study actually goes for patients with early rectal cancer. Usually we treat rectal cancer patients with chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and then surgery. So the patient usually get exposed to the toxicity of the chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and then undergo surgery. So the study here used a targeted therapy that based on the fingerprints of the tumor, basically, to target the immune system, where the immune system will attack the disease. And they actually, in all the studied patients, the sample size was total 16 patients that were published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is the premier medicine journal. But the follow-up was, there was adequate follow-up on 12 patients, which is more than 6 months. And all 12 patients had complete remission only with the drug. Means they did not require surgery, they did not require chemotherapy or radiation therapy. And this is a really big breakthrough, because you are saving the patients from all the toxicity of the study.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, really. I mean, and that's an important point. It's invasive, quality of life affecting type treatments.
Yes.
As far as where that takes place. But so, Dr. Jazieh, one of the things, because that was worldwide news. I woke up one morning, it was all over everything.
Yeah, everywhere.
And we were fortunate that it took place in a week that the president didn't fall off the bicycle, because otherwise we probably would have never heard about it. Yeah, but they were quick to point out in every report that I saw that it was a small sample size. And so I kind of remember enough from my college statistics class. I just remember only enough to be dangerous, and that is that a sample size does not have to be huge to be statistically significant. But in a case like this, with a clinical trial where you see like 16 patients, and some of these trials have hundreds, if not thousands, of trial participants, can we still feel really, really good about that result, or do we feel like that you would need much more study before? Because it was a 100% positive response rate.
Yes. No, absolutely. This is very important information. So I can start with the limitation of the study that we have to pay attention to. But let me tell you about the type of study quickly that we do. This is called a phase 2 study. Usually we have different phases to studies. Phase 1 is when you are testing new medications in a human first time. People did not get exposed to it. Phase 2, when you are looking for the efficacy of the medication. And phase 3 is when you are trying to definitively find whether this drug is acceptable or appropriate for application at large scale. Phase 2, this was phase 2 study, meaning you use smaller sample size and you try to look for efficacy. And actually, so that's number one. Number two, the follow-up is not long enough. It's only 6 months, so we don't know what will happen to these patients later. Nevertheless, this is still a great breakthrough because it's a proof of a concept. I mean, the concept did work in these patients, save at least for now, all the patients, this other therapeutic intervention, chemo, radio, and radiotherapy and surgery. So this is by itself is very important news. However, we need longer follow-up and larger sample size. Nowadays, with this targeted therapy, the concept does make a sense. That's why we have now many drugs get approved with small sample size because biologically it makes sense, and we are not going to have the thousands of patients for each study nowadays with the advancement of precision medicine to say the drug is approved. So I would not be surprised, and it happened multiple times the last few years, of having drug approved by the FDA on small sample size, phase 2. Because they don't want to deprive the patient from the benefit of the treatment when it makes biological sense. And we see good results.
So it's almost an ethical issue.
Yes, yes.
You don't. It's compassionate use.
But what we need also to keep in mind that this drug is not new drug. It's actually approved by FDA for the use in uterine cancer. So it is in the market, and it did not have the same side effect, the same benefit. in the uterine cancer. It's only 40% of the uterine cancer who expressed the same mutation responded to it. So apparently, there is something about this population that make them more benefit more from this treatment.
So before we continue on, what do you say to people at home that heard this breakthrough clinical trial on television or read it in magazines and such? I'm sure many folks that may have had or even have rectal cancer are calling their oncologist and trying to see if it's something that they can get, but that's not necessarily how it works, correct?
Yes. So it's very important, whenever you hear news, is to go back to your doctor, because this is not, it's not the best treatment for every patient with rectal cancer. Actually, if you look at what the patients were studied in this particular trial, is they were early stage colon cancer, and they have to express DMMR, certain mutation, which is only expressed in 5 to 10% of the patient. So not all rectal cancer patients will have this. So it has to be early rectal cancer, and it has to express a certain mutation by the molecular studies. Yes.
Also, in this particular case, in this trial, Dr. Luis Diaz from Memorial Sloan Kettering, he was one of the principal investigators on this trial. Now, Dr. Diaz was a faculty member of CCA's inaugural ASCO Direct Best of Oncology Highlights Conference here in Cincinnati last year. And you were at ASCO's, the annual meeting in Chicago just a few weeks ago. What kind of feeling did you get from the professional oncologists there when they heard about this breakthrough trial and all that has been blowing up newswise?
Yeah, actually, Dr. Luis Diaz actually leading the Memorial Sloan Kettering group, and he is a leader in the precision medicine, and especially in this particular area. Actually, ASCO, which is the largest oncology professional society in the world, there were 30,000 people attending ASCO meeting in Chicago and 15,000 virtually. So you're talking about 45,000 oncologists attending that meeting. And for ASCO, first time in history, to dedicate a special session for this study, it sent a big signal that this is unusual study, which is true. With all the caveat we have mentioned, it's still very big breakthrough in oncology. And it was the talk of the meeting.
Yeah. And unlike the Medical Minute, at ASCO, doctors are allowed to talk like doctors.
Yes. All doctors talk.
We even let doctors talk like doctors at our best at our ASCO Direct event.
Yes, actually, we are fortunate to be one of the first, group to bring the best of ASCO to the region, where we basically invite the top faculty in the country who are expert in different fields. In addition, the many experts from our region, they come so we can have the latest presentation discussed in a professional way and try to put it in practical steps on how we benefit our patients in the region with the latest treatment.
And we'll do that again on October 1st this year?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That sounds great.
It's exciting news, though.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah, as breast cancer survivors, it's exciting. And even for non-breast cancer survivors, it's exciting just for everyone to know that there is hope coming from these clinical trials.
Yeah.
There's hope.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Jazieh, thanks for coming on again today. We'll have you back from time to time. It won't even require breaking news. We'll just have you back from time to time. But thanks, everybody. Next week on Wednesday at noon, we'll have Megan Brown from Kroger Health. She's their chief nursing officer, and we'll talk about collaborative health, some of their efforts in that respect as well. So, and that'll close out the month of June, and we'll have all kinds of good stuff going in July as well. So, thanks again, and we'll see you here next Wednesday at noon. Thanks, everybody.